Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to use my teaching voice so that everybody can hear. So I hope you can hear. It's okay? All right. Now, the voice might give out in a little bit, so you'll be saved. Welcome. Glad everybody's here. It's great to see everybody. You know that expression, there's no free lunch? Well, there's no free breakfast. This is your payment. You got to listen to me. I'll try to make it not too painful, but hopefully we'll talk a little bit about Piedmont, Virginia Community College, about what's going on here at the Giuseppe Center, and hopefully we're going to get some ideas from you of ways we can expand what we're doing here in Greene County and do things better. Now, we've got all sorts of dignitaries here. I'm not going to introduce them one at a time. We'd be here all morning, but I've got to say hello to Ethel. And everybody knows Ethel, and we are in Ethel's building. So I had to do that. She doesn't like when I do that, but that's okay. I want to do just let me ask first. I always like to do this when I'm in a group. How many of you personally have ever taken a course at PVCC? Raise your hand. Keep your hands up, okay? How many, let's add to that, have had family members take a course at PVCC? And let's add to that, anybody with a coworker or colleague who's taken a course at PVCC. Now, look around the room. Whoever doesn't have a hand up, throw them out. No, I didn't mean that. You know, it gives me great pride, satisfaction, joy, no matter what audience I do that with. Anywhere in Central Virginia, I get about 3/4 of the hands to go up. And that's the way a community college should be. We're here to serve the community, and one of the measures of whether we're doing a good job is, do people come? Do they see value in what you do? Do you make it accessible? Do they come? And if we didn't get 3/4 of the hands up, I think that would say to me, hey, we're doing something wrong. We better recalibrate and figure out what we're going to do. All right, I'm going to do just a couple of things this morning. And we have a mix here of people who probably know the college as well as I do, and people who might not know much about it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the PVCC 101, just give you the intro and the overview, and then we'll get down to details about the Giuseppe Center and our plans here in Greene County. So I'm going to try to do 4 things in about 15 minutes. So I got to talk fast. I'm a Yankee, I can do that. Want to talk about the PVCC mission. Want to talk about who are our students, why do they attend, and what happens to them after they graduate from PVCC. All right, so let's talk about what's our mission. First thing we already referenced, we make post-secondary education accessible. Our job is to bring into post-secondary education as many folks as we possibly can from our local area. So how do you do that? Well, you try to make education convenient. So we've got day courses, we've got night courses, we've got weekend courses, we have online courses. You have to make it convenient for people. And that's one of the reasons we're here in Greene County. I don't know how long it takes you to drive from Standardsville all the way down to our main campus, but in front of the sheriff, you better say it takes a little while longer than it actually takes you. But it takes me a while to drive that distance. And, you know, if you work a full day and you want to get some courses at night and you've got to add an hour drive each way just to get a course, that's going to be a barrier that's going to stop you. So we try to make education accessible. And one of the ways we did that is to come here to serve you better. You also make it accessible by trying to keep the tuition as low as you can. Now, I used to say our tuition is low. I can't say that anymore. It's come up a lot. But compared to other options, it's definitely low. For a student to be full-time with us, meaning 15 credits fall, 15 credits spring, it's tuition and fees will run you about $4,200. Your next lowest cost choice in the state of Virginia, Longwood or JMU, they're going to run you tuition and fees around 10 or 11,000, so more than twice ours. And UVA, Virginia Tech, they're going to be about 3 times ours. They're going to be in the 12,000 range. Now, if you live on campus at those places, you add another 8 or 9,000. Even for an in-state student, you're up to $20,000 a year easily. With us, students live at home, about $4,200. You can save a heck of a lot of money. And one of the things we offer is the ability to take your first 2 years of a bachelor's degree with us, then transfer on to any of those wonderful universities I mentioned, and take your last 2 years there. But you can save about $15,000 each of those first 2 years. That's going to go a long ways to help and pay for those last 2 years. So that's what I mean when I talk about making education accessible. Second part of our mission, it's nice to get the students in, but they got to get through. We're dedicated to student success. We don't want to just take them in and take their money. We want to get them through. We want them to succeed. We want them to graduate. And we build the institution around that. We're an open door institution. What that means is if you're a high school graduate or you've got a GED, you're in. We're non-selective. We don't reject people. We get you in. But that means a lot of our students, maybe they weren't the best students in high school. Or maybe they've been out of school for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years before they come back. So we build the college around support for those individuals. We have a math center. We have a writing center. We have a learning center. We provide tutoring in every subject we offer, and all that's free. That's not really free. You paid for it with your tuition, but you don't have to pay anything extra. We build for student success. The third thing that you need to know about our mission is we're a teaching institution. Now, unlike the University of Virginia or Virginia Tech, where faculty really are there to do research and to create knowledge, our faculty are there to teach. They teach a lot. They teach 5 courses a semester generally. At a university, they're probably going to teach 2, but they'll also have their research responsibilities. Our faculty teach. They're there to teach. They love to teach, and that's what they do. We also, as a teaching institution, we keep classes small. If you come to PVCC, I can almost guarantee you'll never be in a class of over 40 students. Never. With a few exceptions. And if you are in those exceptions, it's because the lectures have about 70, but then you break out into small groups for labs or for clinicals, like our nursing program, where clinicals are only 10 students per faculty. So we have about 4 or 5 classes where the lecture actually gets larger than 40 students, but that's all. And here at Giuseppe, chances are you'll never be in a class of over 30. So we keep it small because we want an individualized style of education. Last thing, in our mission, we serve community. Community is our middle name, and we try to work with our community to meet your educational needs and provide the kind of education that the members of the community want and need. And we have our workforce services arm, and many of you know Valerie Palamountain. Wave, Valerie. Valerie's our Dean of Workforce Services. And Valerie, and Kathy's over here, Kathy Reed's part of her staff, they work with the businesses throughout our service area to help the businesses educate their workforce, either the ones who already work for them or the ones they'd like to hire in the future. Robbie, I think we just did some training for you and your folks through Valerie's area, and that's another part of the way we serve community. So that's our mission. So you get a sense of who we are, what we do. So who do we serve? Who are our students? Well, this semester, which we're wrapping up right now, we've got about 5,500 students in our credit classes. We've had a huge increase. 7, 8 years ago, we were about 4,100 students. Now we're up to 5,500. So it's been a real big increase. Over the course of a year, not just a semester, we get about 8,000 students in our credit classes, And we get another 4,000 in the non-credit classes that I was talking about that Valerie and Kathy work on. So all told, we serve about 12,000 people a year right now in all of our classes. But to give you a profile, just so you get a sense, because a lot of folks, when you think of college students, you think of kids between 18 and 21 or 18 and 22. That's not quite our student body. Let me give you a quick profile. 3/4 of our students go part-time. Only 1/4 of our students go full-time. Our students fit college in around life rather than college being their lives. 80% of our students have a job while they go to PVCC. 80%. And most of them are working 30 hours a week or more while they're taking classes. They need the money. 1/3 of our students are over the age of 25. We have many students in their 30s and their 40s. They're returning to college, or maybe they never went to college, but now that fits into their life and they see the need. So we have many adult students, especially at night. Loads of folks who work during the day, but they're trying to advance, maybe in the same career, maybe in a different career, and they come to us to take classes at night. 20% of our students are high school students, and Andrea's going to talk about that a little bit later. 20% are in high school, mostly 11th and 12th graders, and we offer them the opportunity, if they're capable, to take college courses while they're in high school and get a head start on their college education. We'll come back to that thought in a minute. Also, I'll just mention, between 1/3 and 1/2 of our students are on financial aid every semester. As I said, our tuition has gone up a lot, and we're serving folks who, it's a struggle to pay for college. Thank goodness we have federal financial aid, we have state financial aid, our college foundation provides scholarships. So between 1/3 and 1/2 are on some sort of financial aid to go to PVCC. You read a lot about students going into debt to pay for college, and that's a real worry. Only 10% of our students take out a loan. They get the grants through financial aid, they work, they have family. Only about 10% take out loans, and typically it would be very rare for a student to leave us with more than about $8,000 or $9,000 in debt. The national average right now is about $25,000. So we're pleased, and we're trying to keep that as low as possible. So why do they attend? 3 reasons. 1, they want to get a bachelor's degree, and we're a good launching pad. First 2 years with us, transfer, and we have what's called guaranteed admission agreements. And these are agreements with all of our universities, UVA, Tech, ODU, where it says if you graduate from PVCC and you take the transfer curriculum, the set of courses you're supposed to take, and you earn a certain grade point average, you're guaranteed admission to the university as a junior. You don't have to compete for spots or anything. It's a guarantee. At the University of Virginia, you got to earn a 3.4, which means you got to get mostly A's. Some of the institutions, it's a 3.0. Some it's down to a 2.5 or a 2.2. Just depends on how selective the university is. But it's like having a warranty on your car. It's a little bit of peace of mind that if the student performs well, they're going to get into their first choice university. And the data is really clear. Between 80 and 90% of our students who transfer get into their first choice university. Because we always survey them and we ask them that question. And 80 to 90% every year get into their first choice, which is just wonderful. That's about half our students. They want to go on for the bachelor's degree. About 35% of our students, they don't want the bachelor's degree, or at least they don't want it right away. They want a job. They want to make more money. They want a better job. So they're in curricula that we offer that are designed to get them right out into the workforce. And the biggest sellers we have in that area, and it'll be no surprise to you, healthcare occupations are at the top of the list. Even through the recession, the hospitals down in Charlottesville, UVA, Martha Jeff, they were hiring. You know, even when everybody else was cutting back, they were hiring. And people are smart. They know that. So we graduate, about 200 folks a year in healthcare careers. About 80 of those are in our nursing program where they become registered nurses. Good chance if you've had the misfortune of being in the hospital or seen doctors, good chance one of our students, one of our graduates has been your nurse along the way. But we have many different healthcare careers beyond nursing. Other ones that are very big and successful, we started a culinary arts program, and we have about 60-some students in that. Police science, of course, is one of our programs. Many of our law enforcement folks in Central Virginia have come through that. And then fields like business and IT. Valerie has had great success with a program serving the wine industry, our viticulture and enology programs. We've served 400 students over the years, about. So things like that. And then about 15% of our students have no interest in long-term. They're just there because they want to learn something. It's personal interest. They're taking something they've always wanted to take. Art, ceramics, music, whatever, history. They already have degrees. About 15% of our students already have advanced degrees. They're coming back because they want to learn something, and it's a good way to do it. So what happens to them after they leave us? You know, all that low tuition and good courses, nice teachers is wonderful, but if you can't go on and do what you want to do, it isn't worth it. Well, I'm pleased to say our students do move on and do what they want to do. The last year we looked at, if you take a look at all the students we have in our credit classes, and then you say, okay, the next year, let's look at all the colleges across the country. How many of our students have moved on to a four-year college? The last year we did this, just last year, 1,600 of our students were with us 1 year and at a four-year college the next. 1,600. That includes about 250 who went on to the University of Virginia, which makes us the largest supplier of students to UVA in the nation. About 500 of those students were actually high school students taking our classes, and they didn't come to us after high school. They went straight to a four-year college or university, UVA, Virginia Tech, ODU, Longwood, wherever it was. But the high school classes that they took with us helped launch them, helped them get accepted by those universities. So about 500 of those 1,600 just jumped right into the four-year college, and that's fine. We're glad to help out in that way. So transfers, we know they're moving on and doing well. Employment, it's a little harder to track those getting jobs, but let me give you a few statistics. We did a big study with the Virginia Employment Commission a little while ago. There are about 100,000 people working jobs in Central Virginia, the area we serve. Of those 100,000 people, according to the VEC, 30,000 of them took at least one course at PVCC during the last 10 years. Yeah, 30,000 out of 100,000. I was pretty surprised. And the VEC surveyed employers for us. Out of all the employers in Central Virginia, 2/3 employ somebody who went to PVCC. That's pretty cool. And we know we're having an impact on the workforce and in Central Virginia. So I came close to sticking to my time frame to give you PVCC 101. Let's talk about what goes on here at the Giuseppe Center. We opened up in the fall of 2012, so it's just been a couple of years. 6 semesters, counting summers so far. We're averaging about 150 to 200 students a semester taking classes here at the Giuseppe Center. We offer the classes in a combination. Some of the classes, most of them, are taught live, with faculty here at the center. But some of our classes are via technology, where the faculty member might be at our main campus and have students in front of him or her there. And thanks to technology, the audio and the video is being beamed here so that students here can be in that same course at the same time. They can see the faculty member, hear the faculty member can see and hear them, thanks to all the conferencing technology. And the advantage of that is, let's say you only get 2 or 3 students here who want a particular course. We can't afford to pay a faculty member to come here to teach 2 or 3 students. But if we just add them to a class of 20 that's already going on the main campus, it doesn't cost us anything extra. And that way the students here can get the class that they want. We don't have to turn them away. And it works very well for us in terms of our business model, our finances. So we teach in a combination of those ways here. Mostly what we're teaching are the courses that you would call the liberal arts courses or the transfer courses, the general education courses. The math, the English, the history, sociology, psychology, things of that nature. That's most of what we're teaching here. One of our challenges, and I'm going to ask you for some help, we'd like to expand, and we would like to offer courses and programs that are not necessarily designed to get you into a bachelor's degree, but are designed to get you a job. But we got to marry those with what jobs, what programs, what courses. And we've struggled a little bit trying to figure out what's the right mix, what would work here that would attract people. We've offered some certified nursing assistant programs here, and that's a short course, 6 or 8 weeks, Val?
About 8 weeks.
About 8 weeks. And at the end of that, you can be certified as a CNA, a certified nurse assistant, and get a job right away. We've had a couple of those work here, but we're looking for ideas, and I'm going to ask you, what we could add to the mix and what would work here. Also, I need your help. We'd really like to boost the enrollment in general. As I said, we're at about 150 to 200 students a semester. We'd really like to be at 250 to 300. That would be our goal. So we're looking for ideas on what to offer and how to promote to bring people in. So maybe I better stop there and sip some coffee and ask you, what advice would you give us to help us? What should we offer? How should we promote? Are there program areas we could add here? Because we'd really like to pick it up and serve the folks here in Greene County even better than we are. Who wants to kick it off? Yes, sir.
Do you have any involvement with the Project Discovery program?
Project Discovery.
Project Discovery, I believe, is a nationwide program. And I know they have a program like this in Charlottesville, whereby it's like a mentoring program for high school students who would not necessarily be thinking of going to college at all.
We're not a part of that program. He asked about Project Discovery, but we have a similar, I think, program and mission that we work with the school system here. We have what's called a career coach. And that's an employee of PVCC who is located at William Monroe High School. And that person's job is to work with students who might not have long-term educational plans, might not be looking toward post-secondary education, and to work with them, not just to recruit them for PVCC. They're not just a recruiter. I mean, we'd love to get the students, sure. But their job is to work with the student as a counselor, as an advisor, to help the student develop a long-term educational and career plan. And we do that in most of our high schools throughout our service region. And we do have somebody here who does that at Greene.
And that starts with seniors?
Andrea, do they work with sophomores, juniors?
Scientist is our guidance director at the high school. She could probably speak most directly to.
Yeah, I've been wiggling here. I can't wait to answer you. So here's what our career coach does is, for instance, just this year since September, she's been going to our tech center in the culinary arts, the nursing, and the carpentry programs. She's been bringing teachers from PVCC up to speak. So one of the PVCC culinary people came to our quality program. She goes in, she not only brings speakers, she does resume writing, she does job interview skills. So she hits our tech center subjects, which hits a large population that may not be college bound because they're getting a trade. Then within our building, she does all the testing for, say, every student that wants to be an associate degree student, the whole way up to the transfer students that he was seeking. So she runs a wide range of activities from resume and job skills the whole way through to the 2-year transfer. So, and then she hits a variety of subjects. Of course, we're limited by our tech center because we have the subjects they offer. But if students have outside, for instance, I have a student right now that's looking at an electrical apprenticeship program. So her job will be to hook him up with that program, do the interview down in Charlottesville, the testing, and then get him to that program in Northern Virginia. So it's very useful.
Yeah, we hope it works. It's a partnership. We're in the same business. We're in the education business, and the better things work at the K-12 level, the better for us. The better we work, the better for the K-12 level. It's a true partnership, and we try to always remember that we're a team and we work together. Thoughts, ideas, please.
I would like to ask Robbie what type of training he had for his employees, because we're not talking about people graduating from high school, we're talking about people already in the workplace.
Yeah, Robbie, stand up. Come on.
My name's Robbie Morris. My wife and I make performance signs in Ruckersville. We have 12 employees, and so we got with Valerie and Kathy and Joanna Aubert and did a customized program for our business. We closed down, I guess, 6 sessions. We came up to the center here. We found a great person to cover the shop for us while we were gone. And we went over leadership, conflict resolution, values, working on our mission statement. It was an amazing program, and everybody in our company was really excited about it. We were just talking about it beforehand, we're going through detox now. We've done our last session, so we're already ready to start planning our next one. So I'm a PVCC fanboy. I took my first class in high school and got my associate's degree 20 years later when the center opened, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have come back to school, I don't think, and now I'm doing a program at PVA. So I love talking about PVCC. I love to get people involved. I think one of the challenges I've seen from being on the chamber side and the EDA side is getting small businesses to take time away to do it.
Yeah.
And they think it's so hard to do, and I don't know how we can spark that and make that happen. So that's been our experience. And just to add to, I'd like to know how the defense training things that we how that works.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but again, when I talked about our mission, that we serve the community, unlike a university who has a pretty static and stable curriculum, our job is to respond to employment needs in the communities we serve. And we serve Charlottesville City, and then Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, Louisa, Nelson, and Buckingham counties. That's our area that we serve, and we serve the employers in that area. And if there are jobs opening up, and for local people to qualify for those jobs, they're going to need some sort of education and training. It's our job to jump in, create a curriculum or a program to get our local people local jobs. That's something we always talk about. Get local people local jobs. So when DIA moved down here, just a few years ago, when they moved all those folks down from Northern Virginia and opened up the DIA shop next to NGIC, yeah, they were bringing a lot of people with them, but they were going to need to hire local people too. And the jobs that they had, that they were really focused on, were those intelligence analyst jobs. You had to get secret clearance and all of that from the government, and it was a pretty high-level analytical kind of job to be an intelligence analyst. And we had nothing in this area to prepare people specifically for those jobs. So they were just looking at recruiting all over the country, but not here. Well, thanks to Valerie, we hooked up with a group in Dayton, Ohio, called the Advanced Technical Intelligence Center, who was already running a program like that at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. And they had big money, federal money, state money in Ohio, and they had a curriculum, they had a program, and they had a track record of their graduates getting hired as intelligence analysts. So we contracted with them. They became our partner. They brought in the curriculum. They brought in faculty. They flew them in from Ohio or helped us hire local folks who could do it. And we started up a short-term program we called it a boot camp. I think it was 10 weeks? 10 weeks in intelligence analyst. Now you had to have military experience to qualify. That was preferred, not required, okay. Or a college degree already, because this was pretty high level. In 10 weeks, we couldn't take you from ground floor all the way up. And so there were some admission requirements there. And we started that up. We've had 4 or 5 sessions of it, I guess, maybe 60, 80 students go through it.
Probably, yeah,
Close to 100 students go through it. Many of them gobbled up in local jobs. Many of them went up to Northern Virginia and worked up there. Many worked for the government. Some worked for the contractors, Booz Allen and folks like that who work on, with NGIC and DIA. And the good thing about that is we only run it when the jobs are available. So when sequestration hit and they weren't hiring any of those folks, we weren't going to pump them out and then watch them get no jobs. We don't want to take their money and then they don't get anything. So we just called it quits for a while. And we'll start it back up when we talk to the businesses and the government and we know they're hiring again. And that's part of what we try to do in terms of being responsive to employment needs in our region. Coming back to Robbie, the plan has been to center that program here. I mean, you're closer to Rivanna Station than our main campus. We're all the way at the south end of the county. So we'd really like to do more here, and that's why that computer lab over here was established specifically with the kind of equipment we would need to run those courses here. But like I said, right now, it's a down period. The government isn't going to be hiring, and we've just got to see what shakes out with sequestration and the Department of Defense and all of that. But we would love to do more here, and that was, when we started up the center, that was one of the programs we really thought would be a centerpiece here. So we'll see where it goes. Anything to add to that?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way to use that facility then for some of the innovations, activities that are spin-offs from UVA? I mean, do those people down at the road there, Camelot, do they have any need for the kinds of employees that you train here and that kind of?
Yeah. The question is, in this facility, the computer lab, I assume you're talking about, what else can we do there that would serve needs? And that's one of the things we're trying to look at. We are in the process of developing a program in cybersecurity. For those of you who have businesses, and well, we read about all the time, the breaches in security, like at Target, and some of the other businesses where social security numbers got out and data breaches occurred. The biggest field we see right now in information technology is training people in security in information technology. So we are creating a cybersecurity program to prepare people for jobs in that field. That is on our to-do list. We don't have a faculty member right now. It's hard to find faculty members in that field, but we're hooking up again with a third party who is already doing that with federal funding. And we're hoping to bring that curriculum here maybe by next fall. Don't hold me to it, but maybe by next fall we'll be ready. And we think this lab, this site would be perfect for that. So that's one of the things we're looking at.
And presumably you could then do distance learning if the people at your other places have the right computer stuff.
Yeah, and we're always looking at ways to use the technology, the distance learning technology, to augment. You know, with the computers, you got to have hands on them. But if there's a lecture component, that could always be delivered from main campus or somewhere else. Or, I mean, we could originate the lecture here, and the main campus students could be hooked up by technology. So it can work both ways. So we need to think of that too. Yes?
A couple suggestions, Brian. You're doing so much right.
Thanks.
Very well. And I really applaud you for taking the risk on coming to Greene. It's been wonderful. And I applaud visionaries like Ethel Giuseppe and Ken Lawson over here who helped so much to get this school established. A couple things. One, an entrepreneurship 101. And I'm not talking about, I know you've got business classes that run the gamut from accounting to bookkeeping to small MBAs, heading them in that direction. But I'm talking about something for the farmer, the homemaker, the baker, the candlestick maker, who has good ideas, a lot of entrepreneurs in these hills, but are afraid to take the risk, don't know how to take the risk, don't know how to get channeled into the Small Business Administration, don't know how to go about getting a small loan, and just need that urging to bring out that entrepreneurial spirit.
It's a great idea.
We're trying to fill this town up with small businesses. We're having a hard time. We are getting a lot of home-based businesses cranking up, which is very, very good. But I think there's room all over this county for people who, how do I market my products better? How do I get that stuff to the farmer's market? The Apple salesman, well, how can I do it better? So that's one idea. So, something for someone who's not necessarily going for the degree.
Right, something short and focused. Alan was going to add something.
The tech on Bill, Steve, the liaison for the EDA. The EDA is considering sponsoring some type of innovative grant or something for new business. I'm sure the EDA would be willing to team up with a class like that, and at the end of the course, have a $5,000 or $3,000 grant to start a new business. So if you want to offer a class like that, talk to the EDA. We will put a little nice incentive on the back end of that.
All right, before we leave, Valerie, you and Alan, that's why Valerie's here. I can say this to her. Valerie, you and Alan are going to work this out. Thank you, Bill. Great idea. Great.
Second comment.
All right, you're going to try to hit another home run. Okay.
You guys use the media very well, the Greene County Record, and Alex.
And Anita's back there, our marketing and PR person, Anita Showers back there.
My suggestion would be carve off a corner, either once a week or once a month. Campus corner, college corner, PVCC corner. Ask the editor, they may do it for free, what's going on at the Giuseppe SIP, what happened this past month.
Oh, nice.
The next month. Here's what we're all about. Stay in front of our faces.
Okay.
A lot of people still aren't using social media. The Greene County Record is our social media. It's our news source and our social media. So I would encourage you, stay in our faces.
Excellent.
It can only help.
We will do that.
Yes, I'd just like to build a little bit on what Bill was saying. If you focus on Greene County, what makes us so special, small businesses, artists. I'm president of the Art Guild this year. We had a wonderful display of a major exhibit here of portraits of Greene County, which was tremendous for the community. So we really love using this particular space for that. Arts, wine, agriculture, culinary arts, these are all really important for Greene County. So to the extent that you can meld your programs to
Okay.
help us. I know that's what you're all about.
We're trying.
Don't forget the artists.
Okay. Let me cover one thing, because I know you folks are going to need to get on your way, but there was one topic I definitely wanted to cover, and I'll stay as long as you want me to, but so you can get on the way, let me cover this one last thing. Let me talk about the program we do with your high school students, and I'm going to have Andrea chime in a little bit. We have this semester, about 120 from William Monroe High School who are taking what we call dual enrollment courses. Now, those are the courses that they take right in the high school. They're college courses. They're taught by the high school faculty who meet our qualifications. And our qualifications are a little bit higher than the typical high school faculty, so not all meet that. But when the student takes that course in the high school, that dual enrollment course, a great advantage for the student and the family, they don't have to pay tuition. So they are earning college credits in regular college courses, you know, English, history, political science, math, what have you. And they're getting grades in those classes, just like our regular on-campus students. And it's the same material, same textbooks, same syllabus. It's a regular college course. And like I say, they're getting those credits. And if they come to us, I mean, they're our credits, but the courses are designed so that the credits will go anywhere. So if those students go straight to Virginia Tech or JMU or wherever, those credits are going to count. And they've earned maybe a semester, maybe 2 semesters of credits at no cost to the family, which is a wonderful. My son went to Albemarle High School, and he had 12 credits through dual enrollment from us, and he went straight to UVA from Albemarle. All 12 credits were accepted. He had almost a semester under his belt, and it didn't cost us anything. So it's a great program. One of the things we've been able to do, thanks to the Giuseppe Center, is to expand that idea into something that's even more innovative, I think. We call it early college. We've developed a program whereby your really capable, talented high school students can earn a full associate degree from PVCC by the time they graduate high school. Now, it's not easy. It's quite a load for them, but they can earn 60 credits, 2 years of college work in the general transfer area, and they could have that by the time they graduate high school. And then when they go straight on to a university, they're halfway home. They're halfway to the bachelor's degree. Now, for the credits that they have to come over here to Giuseppe, those are taught by our faculty from the college who we have to pay. Therefore, when the students come here, they got to pay our tuition. See, the dual enrollment in the high school, those faculty are already being paid by the high school, and that's how we can get away with not collecting the tuition. But for the courses that require the specialties that we have that the high school doesn't have, they have to come over here. Now, Giuseppe has made that possible because they can just, walk on over. And if you look at our schedule, we've got all sorts of courses that start around 2:20, and that's been designed to meet the schedule of the high school students. We've worked that out together. And it's a wonderful program, and the students go through it together. I think there are 14, if my numbers are right, 14 juniors, 13 juniors, 24 sophomores who are in that track, if you will, to accomplish that and earn their associate degree. The juniors, so it would be a year from this May, sophomores 2 years. The sophomores only get a little sprinkle of 1 or 2 classes. The bulk of it is in the junior and senior year. I think we're going to have a couple this May, I think. One?
Who's kind of blazed a trail all on her own prior to the agreement and whatnot. And she's decided that she will finish her associate's degree before she gets her high school diploma.
Yeah, isn't that
Pretty
neat?
amazing.
But this is where we need your help. And I'm not going to squeeze you too tight on this, but just a little bit. You know, for the students to achieve this and earn that associate degree, they're getting about 40 credits over here, which means they have to pay for that. 40 credits over a couple of years, it's about $5,600 from us. Now, thanks to generosity of some of you and some of your neighbors, we've been able to provide some scholarships this year to help students and their families handle those costs. I think 8 or 9 scholarships, Andrea?
It was about $10,000, 9 students.
9 students.
Received scholarships.
But, and I'm going to ask Andrea to address this more directly, what she has told us is there are students who are capable of doing this, who want to do this, but their families can't afford it. See, the problem is, due to federal and state rules, they cannot get financial aid while they're in high school. That's just the way it's set up. If you're a high school student, even though you're taking college courses, you can't get financial aid from the government. So the only source of financial aid would be through our foundation, where PVCC raises the money and gives out scholarships. And Andrea tells us there's 20 or 30 more students, maybe?
I would say there are lots of students that haven't even maybe expressed interest because they know it's not an option.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to our mission, we hate to see people give up education because of a financial barrier. I mean, our mission is to bring everybody in and help them solve those financial barrier issues. So, one of your neighbors has stepped forward and given us $20,000 towards scholarships for this group of students, and it's a challenge grant. We need to raise $20,000 from others in order to get that $20,000, and then we'll have $40,000 to provide the scholarships, and it would be limited to the high school students who want to go through this program. And we're not asking you to write checks right now, although that would be nice. But just be aware of this, and you probably will get follow-up letters or hear some from us. And it's, you know, investing in our young people is probably the greatest investment any of us can make. And Andrea, why don't you add to that? Go ahead.
I just want to say, you know, it's not only been the scholarship funds, it's also been more of a community effort. We've had the Rurtons give a $200 scholarship. We've had the Greene County Chamber of Commerce give students, give Ms. Santis, actually, our guidance director, $2,000 a year to do a, basically, she runs a bookstore out of her office. So students can, because the other thing that, the other cost that our students bear is books.
Yeah.
So they can come and for $50, they can get their book, and at the end of the semester, they can sell it back for $50, and it's cost them nothing. That's been completely supported by the Chamber of Commerce, and I believe it's pretty self-supporting. So it has been a community effort at this point. One other thing that I'd like to mention is not only are students getting a jump start on their college program and earning credits towards transfer and things like that. I have a child who's in the first cohort, and I can say as a parent, it's really nice that she's getting high school or college credits. That's all well and good. But the thing that I really love about it as a parent is that it is a transition between being in the security and the safety of home and high school before we go full force out to college, living on your own. And I can say there have been many learning experiences that I know of with other students, but I can speak personally to in my own house about, you know, about the learning, about time management, about doing things on your own, and mom and your teachers aren't looking over your shoulder. So that is also a fantastic opportunity for our students. The Giuseppe Center has been a tremendous blessing to us in the school system.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, I was telling somebody earlier, last Monday night I presented to the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. The Monday before that I was at the Buckingham County Board of Supervisors. And you got to know, each time after I finish my little update, the very first question I get is, when are we going to get a center like they've got in Greene County? No, and that's true. That's the first question I get, and I have to go through what it took to make this possible with the support of the county, with the support of the citizens. You know, it wasn't PVCC who made this happen. It was the folks here, your leadership and your citizens who made this happen. So I just throw the ball back in their court. When they're ready to help us, okay, then we can talk. But we've tried the early college program in all of our other locales, but it works best here because Giuseppe Center is right here. Because in the other locations, we don't have a place to offer those courses all the time. So this has been a wonderful marriage here between your citizens, your high school students, and PVCC. And we just want to see it continue to grow and flourish and meet your needs. I know Jim had promised you'd get on your way. You get the last question. All right, I can't ignore you.
Is there any possibility that PVCC might be able to set up like some kind of small learning center in some of those other high schools so that when a class is taught here in Greene County, that it could be fed to students in other schools?
The problem is we don't have all that technology that links all the schools. Yeah, it's a great idea, but the technology has to be established to make it happen.
Would there be any possibility of some of the folks from PVCC talking to the schools or those communities to see if the community, some of the people in the community or the chambers might be willing to provide some of the funding to do that?
Yeah, it's a good idea. And we meet with the superintendents periodically, and that's a good topic for us to explore. Yeah, that's a very good idea.
I don't have a question, but I do have a plug. The other schools, for them, when they talk about this program and the dual enrollment and all that, they would also have to get a center, but they'd also have to get an advocate, and that is Ms. Santos. She is a huge, huge, huge advocate of PVCC. She works tirelessly. I have students that are in that program, but every single parent, anybody, if I'm talking to them about that program, her name comes up, and she is awesome. She does an awesome job. So we have this facility, but we also have her, and she's a huge, talking to those kids constantly about what this center offers, what the opportunities that they can take through here. She is the marketing person for here, because otherwise those kids wouldn't know it, because she pushes that information, not pushes in a bad way, but pushes that information to them, letting them know what they need to do. The emails those kids get, I can't say enough about what all she does to help put those kids in the center and get them on track. She does a great job.
Thank you. Let me just mention real quick, I need to be fair. You know, we use this building for a lot more than just our courses. Kirk Duye, Kirk works for Old Dominion University, and ODU is bringing courses here to enable folks to go on at the bachelor's level. Do you have any master's level, Kirk? Master's as well. And we provide space for them here, and I know Kirk wants to expand that program to bring opportunities right here at the Giuseppe Center. On the other end of the educational spectrum, we share this facility with those doing adult basic education, literacy work, adults who don't have GED. We provide space for those courses also here. And just a plug for this room, you know, this is a community room. It can be rented out. We provide it for blood drives and all sorts of community events. If you want to have wedding showers or other personal family reunions, this can be rented out. So there's all sorts of opportunities here, and it would take me all day to go through everything, and you don't want that. Let me just end by saying we're 1 week from Christmas. Hopefully you've all got your shopping done, unlike me, and hopefully you've got your wrapping done. No matter what holiday you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you celebrate this time of year, I just wish you and your family a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, good health, and prosperity in 2015. And thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate your support and your friendship. And it's wonderful to be among such friends personally as well as friends of the college. And like I said, I'll stay to hear all your ideas, and I welcome those ideas. And you can always contact me. I mean, just go on our website, just email me. Always looking for good ideas for what we can do here. But I do want to get you on your way. You probably have important things to get to today. So thank you so much for coming, and happy holidays, everybody.